The momentum is in full swing. Can you all feel it? Can you see it?
A&T's momentum is without a doubt astonishing and has set a tremendous precedent, and we're committed to strategically driving toward Preeminence 2030.
We have so very much to celebrate. It's an exhilarating time at North Carolina A&T. Will all of the new faculty please stand?
I love the energy that we're pushing forward with this momentum. We're not simply returning to our routines here this semester. We're stepping into a new academic year that promises growth, transformation, and the kind of impact that resonates with our students, our lifelong learner students, and our communities far beyond these walls and campus grounds.
If you ever find yourself wearing A&T paraphernalia, you're bound to be approached by others across our community and across our state with appreciation and expectation. You're going to find some Aggie pride, and Aggie pride is sure going to find you.
Now is the perfect time for all of us to both individually and collectively refresh our focus, keep our foot on the gas as we maintain momentum, and do our parts to execute Preeminence 2030's strategic plan.
We first of all lead the nation in graduation of Black STEM students. That's from the U.S. Department of Education. For 4 consecutive years, we're ranked in the top 100 of all business schools. And these are places like Wharton and Harvard, all of the great business schools around the country that you can think of.
My peers at other institutions want to know the secret sauce. And I tell them it's the secret sauce that's everyone at this university. All of the graduates, all of the workers, all of the faculty members, you are the force. You are the momentum that's carrying us forward.
2003, 2004, we were excited to graduate 933 students and give them their undergraduate degrees. But here in 2024, and I think we're still counting, we're awarding 2,104 degrees. That is more than double the undergraduate degrees. It's amazing.
Aggies, please stand and help us give Chancellor Martin the warmest and biggest Aggie welcome we can.
This is the beginning of something special. It's about all of us. And it's about what we all can do together. And it's not what we're going to do, it's how we're going to do it. Greatness requires you to overcome something. Part of what we're doing is a lot of our folks are overcome things. It ain't like a new struggle, it's just another one, like the song says. We used to struggle. Well, we're learning how to overcome. And that's one of the things that's important. Greatness necessarily requires overcoming something. Resilience and grit, problem solving, resourcefulness. That is what makes greatness. I have this vision. We're already becoming A&T exponential. Let's go ahead and put some numbers where that X is, okay? Because what that means is A&T unlimited. Because we get to decide what that X is. So that is what I want to say, but I can't leave without saying, Aggie pride! Aggie pride! Aggie pride! Aggie pride! Aggie pride! Aggie pride! All right.
Before
Well, welcome everyone to the town hall. We are so glad that you've taken your time to join us tonight. We have so many things to discuss. This is a very full fall term for North Carolina A&T, and we're so glad that you've taken some time out of your schedule to join us and get some of the most recent updates that we have to show with you tonight. To get us started on the program, I want to first of all, sorry, my technology is not agreeing here. I want to first of all introduce our Associate Vice Chancellor for Alumni Relations, Crystal Boyce, who is fresh off of an amazing homecoming, 130,000 attendees strong homecoming, and is here to catch us up and catch all of our alumni up. Crystal, take it away.
Thank you so much, Todd. Greetings and happy Thursday, Aggies. Can you feel the Aggie momentum? I know I felt it at the Faculty Staff Institute that you just saw on the video, but I felt it even more when all of you came home for the 98th edition of the greatest homecoming on earth. We welcome you to the Fall 2024 Alumni Town Hall. I am Crystal Boyce, and I have the honor and privilege of serving and representing the greatest alumni on earth from the greatest institution that I am a proud two-time alumna of, North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. The Office of Alumni Relations is committed to continue working together on connecting with fellow alumni to collaborate on initiatives that support our alma mater while staying committed to the work of A&T's global footprint. Tonight, we bring you a special opportunity to hear from Chancellor James R. Martin II and our university administrators. You'll hear directly from them about key accomplishments, exciting future plans, and how we are strategically aligning our efforts to advance academic excellence, foster student success, and drive global impact, all in support of the university's mission and long-term goals. We thank each of you who submitted questions and comments in your registration. They have been shared with Chancellor Martin and university administrators, and some will be covered in tonight's presentation. The Office of Alumni Relations has been busy. In May, we inducted over 100 members of the class of 1974, including Chancellor Emeritus Harold Errol Martin Sr., into the Society of Golden Aggies, and a record number of over 190 members of the class of 1999 into the Society of Silver Aggies. It was a celebration to see. In May of 2025, we look forward to celebrating the 50th class reunion of the class of 1975 and the 25th reunion of the class of 2000, the Y2K class. Be on the lookout for more information from our office and your class coordinators. This summer, our alumni chapters were buzzing with energy as they actively welcomed our newest Aggies during new student send-offs hosted across the country. It was truly a special time filled with excitement and pride as we connected with our incoming students and helped them feel a part of the Aggie family. We also had the privilege of hosting our second Alumni Chapter Leaders Academy, a highlight of the summer too. The chapter leaders were welcomed aboard Flight 1891 to the second Leadership Academy, which was themed Fly, Finding the Leader in You. This event provided an incredible opportunity for all of our chapter leaders to reflect on their passion for North Carolina A&T and plan for their chapter success in the near future and enhance their leadership skills. In the fall of 2024, we were proud to be the #1 public HBCU, celebrating a record enrollment this fall. The Office of Undergraduate Admissions, New Student Programs, and Alumni Relations partnered to provide a new engagement opportunity for alumni by hosting the inaugural pinning during new student orientation and induction. During that induction, over 100 alumni participated and welcomed our newest Aggies and strengthened their bond to the Aggie family. During Family Weekend, we had another inaugural event, which was our Legacy Pinning Brunch. We welcomed legacy families, over 100 of them, to honor their tradition and pride and welcome their newest additions to the Aggie family. And what can we say about the 98th edition of the greatest homecoming on earth? If you were here, you know we safely celebrated homecoming with over 130,000 students, alumni, family, and friends. It was truly a memorable occasion filled with pride, joy, and Aggie spirit. Thank you to everyone who attended, and a special thank you to everyone who donated to our Homecoming Giving Challenge. Your generosity helps us strengthen our university and ensure that future generations of Aggies have the resources they need to be successful in Aggie land. We want all of you to be engaged and feel the momentum we felt and still feel under Chancellor Martin's leadership. Aggie family, thank you for all that you have done and all that you will do to ensure the future of our illustrious institution. As always, we are a part of the Aggie legacy that achieves great goals in everything and produces renowned individuals dedicated to excellence. Welcome to our Fall 2024 Alumni Town. Next up, I'd like to turn it over to a loyal and devoted Aggie, Kim Gatling, class of 1996, who proudly serves as chair of the Board of Trustees and Advisory Council on Alumni Relations. Turning it over to you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Crystal, and good evening, Aggies. It is a pleasure to join you tonight for the A&T Alumni Town Hall. I am thrilled to welcome every one of you to this great gathering of minds, as we know we all have passionate hearts who share a deep commitment to the success and future of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. This evening, it is my distinct honor to introduce a visionary leader, someone who has already made a tremendous impact in the short time that he has been at the helm of our beloved university. Chancellor James R. Martin II began his tenure on August 15th, 2024. And in fact, that video that you just saw from the Faculty Staff Institute was the day after Chancellor Martin arrived on our campus. Today, we can already see his dedication, bold vision, and determination to move A&T forward in significant and transformative ways. Since stepping into the role, Chancellor Martin has shared an ambitious vision for our future, one that is centered on propelling A&T into a new era as an exponential university. This vision emphasizes innovation, growth, and expanding our global presence. It reflects a profound commitment to ensuring that A&T remains not just a leader in higher education, but a trailblazer on the world stage. From day one, Chancellor Martin has made it a priority to engage with every corner of our community. He has conducted numerous listening sessions with alumni, students, parents, faculty, professional staff, academic deans and administrators, advisory groups, and even elected officials. These conversations have not only demonstrated his dedication to inclusivity and collaboration, but have also laid the foundation for strategies that reflect the voices and needs of our Aggie family. Chancellor Martin has also immersed himself in the life of the university and its extended community by attending and participating in various university events such as athletic games, student engagements, and community gatherings. The momentum that Chancellor Martin has created in just less than 100 days is simply remarkable. This evening, as he shares his insights and updates on the university, I know that you will also feel the energy, drive, and optimism that have become the hallmarks of his leadership. So Aggies, please join me in giving a warm Aggie welcome to the 13th Chancellor of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, Dr. James R. Martin II. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that warm introduction from our illustrious Chair Gatlin. It's hard to believe that it's been almost 100 days. I want to welcome everybody. First of all, And let me just say, there has never been a more important time in our history to do what we do. This is an important time for all of us. It's a critical time for North Carolina A&T, and it's a critical time for our country. And this is our time for it to be our best hour. It's critical for our future. And so we're about getting about the business. And so reaching out to all of you, it's how we do working together and how closely aligned we are that's going to determine how far we go and how quickly we go and how impactful we are. So let's get started with talking about how we continue the momentum that we have here. It's great. We've got a lot of accolades that we can be proud of. I'm sure many of you on this call have seen some of the social media releases that we have put out here recently, but we continue to be a strong university to accomplish what few people would imagine us accomplishing in such a short time. In particular, if you look at our asymmetric impact on the workforce with the number of graduates that we have, it's a tremendous institution. Let's go to the next slide. This is something I started with on the first day that I was here. We're talking about the quest for preeminence and being an R1 institution, and we're basically at that threshold. But let me just say something. What I pointed out the first day, we don't have to wait for somebody else to tell us when we achieve a certain threshold for preeminent. We are preeminent. We had last year, this past year, 47,200 applicants to our program for less than 3,000 slots. That's a stock price. Yes, we are preeminent. The rest of the world is recognizing that. That's important, and it's important that we do. And we had hundreds of people that we had to turn away at our career fair. And that's because people realize the incredible talent and the incredible excellence and quality. And the leaders that we develop, they're ready to lead. We have something special here. So yes, we're already preeminent, and we're going to keep accelerating. Next slide. So I wanted to show the shape of this curve. If you look over a 12-year period, look at the growth that you see there. Look at the shape of this curve. This is the number of applicants that's shown here applying to North Carolina A&T. And the growth really started about 8 or 10 years ago, up to 47,000 applicants. Two things to point out here. Number one, this is counter to the growth at most universities. Most universities are flat or decreasing. Number two, you're looking at a picture of disruption. You see, we are counter to the market. So we at A&T are disruptors. This is why we're having an asymmetric impact on our workforce, an asymmetric impact on the development of technology in this country. So we're sitting where we need to sit, and now we need to accelerate. Our stock price is increasing. We are disruptors. Next slide. So really, if you look at this growth, I talked about the shape of the curve. We are growing by all measures that count in an exponential way. It's not just that we're growing, we are growing in an exponential way. So we're building an exponential university. And what I mean by that is we're investing in high-tech areas that will grow. We're doing things to increase student experience. We're doing things to reach out to new constituents in new ways, especially bolstering our online programs. All of that, and having a global perspective, all of that is a part of building an exponential university for this time in our history. It's incredibly important and a great opportunity, and there's no better place to build it than A&T. Next slide. One of the things I want to point out, it's important that all of us in the Aggie family really have our minds and understanding around global trends and what's happening. On the left of this slide, it shows a map of the world. And what it shows here is the rate of population change over the years 2015 to 2020. And what it shows is the areas, the continent of Africa in particular. That's where we're having a lot of population growth. In fact, in the next 25 years, we'll see Africa being the spot where 25% of the global workforce comes from. So we have to think about where the talent will come from in the world. The world is changing. We're a country of 330 million. This is a world of 8 billion. So we need to really look at the future and look at global dynamics and flows of information. But we also need to look at where the workforce is globally, because we are a global player. And that's important for us all to understand. If you look to the right of the slide, we also see from a global economic standpoint, the countries that are shown in red and blue are members of the BRICS alliance, B-R-I-C-S, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's growing. Many members of this new alliance to trade economically. In fact, now there's over 158 countries united together. What it means is the Western economy won't be dominant in the ways going forward like it always has been. We need to understand where growth from a talent standpoint is occurring. We need to also understand where socioeconomic changes are occurring. So as we are thinking about the future, we're thinking globally, and we're also thinking about not just 2030. We're thinking more like what the future is going to be like 2050. These global changes of what we need to be aware of, and we need to hook into these. Next slide. So to follow on that, it's really important for us to understand big land-grant universities have already started to have a global perspective. That's what I talked about the first day, is we have to establish a strong global footprint. Yeah, we're going to do the right thing for East Greensboro. We're going to do the right thing for North Carolina. We're going to do the right thing for this country. We need a global perspective. We're at the point now where we need to take our place on the mantle of global institutions. So you'll hear us talking about how to have those connections. That means we're partnered in a global way with folks like the Department of Defense, major corporations that have global reach. We'll be reaching out through our own lines and digital platforms to people all over the world, especially in these places where population centers are growing and workforces and economies are developing. That's part of the growth we see, is having global impact. So think about A&T Global. That's big impact for us. So if we put all that together, the way we talked about it is think of A&T to the X, where the X represents an exponential, and that's what was shown in the introductory video. We have an opportunity to determine how fast and how far we're going to grow. We have the opportunity to determine what that X is, right? We need to open up our minds, value ourselves, and create a mindset that's unlimited. And that's what we're doing with this exponential global framework. Next slide. I want to tell you a few highlights from the first 98 days, which are today. Let's go on past here, what we've been up to. We started on the first day tour, and it shows on the right here some of the things we did. We went to the facilities and all the different complexes on campus, the academic settings, the student center, all of those. It was a great tour of campus that took most of the day. Interacting with these amazing students was the highlight. Next slide. We also, the video that you just saw was on day 2, where we engaged faculty and staff, where that video was made, talking about a message similar to what I just gave you about global, exponential, what it is we do well, having a bold vision for the future. So that was very, very inspiring to be in this group and feel the energy of the Aggie Nation directly. Next slide. Student move-in was a highlight. Everything we do is about the student experience. That's where we start. That's what's most important. So that was a great experience. It's also important for us to have cross-cutting engagements. It's not just what we do here on campus, it's what we do in the region and what we do across the country. So it was important early on to be able to connect with the movers and shakers throughout the area. And so I've been very active with that, not only in our universities, but across the whole region. And here are some of the parties and the organizations that we've met with, especially along economic development, because as a land-grant university, a big charge for us is not only provide a quality education and perform impactful research, it is to stimulate economic development and to help drive responsible development in this region. And so we have to get out and establish trust and establish relationships and put our shoulder to the wheel to make those things happen. And that comes from driving and building relationships, right? It's relationship-driven work. Next slide. Okay, let's talk about one of the most engaging and rewarding exercises undertaken was a series of listening sessions. And many of you probably were involved with some of those, but here are the constituents that are listed here: students, alumni, staff, faculty, administrators. We held listening sessions for all of these groups, and they weren't just listening, we were interacting, right? It was listening, but we were listening to each other, we were discussing, we were having conversations, and we learned a lot about who we are and who we are together. Because if we're going to start moving together, we got to get aligned and we got to understand who we are. And it was an important opportunity for me to understand who we are. So these are all the groups that we met with. And we're going to continue to do these, by the way. They're extremely valuable. This is a part of our strategic planning, right? Listening. This is part of strategic planning as well as we move forward. Let's go to the next slide. So over 1,000 people participated directly in these listening sessions. Very, very insightful. Next slide. So there were two key questions. What are our key points of pride? And the answers, we've summarized all of these 1,000 responses. Over on the right, you can see some of the words that came up. We heard people talking about we're committed, right? We have a very welcoming and inclusive environment. We have a strong sense of connection. We have a lot of mentorship. Over on the left, these are we've condensed these down, and it culminated in 4 different strategy areas: academic excellence, research potential. We have an amazing alumni network and enduring alumni affinity. I can't really say that strong enough. It's more than enduring. It's the best in the world. In terms of our alumni affinity, community and economic impact, we create more than $2.4 billion of impact for North Carolina. And that is per year. And that is based on a 2022 assessment. And I guarantee if we did that today, it would be higher than $2.4 billion in terms of the impact that this university creates for the state on an annual basis. So we also have a diverse and inclusive campus that's where students are culturally competent. They're used to working with various groups and can talk and present themselves with utter competence. And this is a strong point of what we all consider our points of pride. So this is a summary. Now let's go to the next slide. Some areas that were identified from these listening sessions that would be opportunities for some of this rapid growth. You can see on the right, the word cloud. Everyone was focused on student experiences because student experience is where we start. That is our focus. Including also with that is how we perform what it is we need to perform, the service. And we talked about technology. We talked about improvements in our administrative processes. We talked about additional resources. So let's go over to the summary of what we learned from all of these inputs. So infrastructure and capacity, we know we need to increase all of that. Physical capacity, infrastructure, IT infrastructure, physical infrastructure, human infrastructure, the types of leadership, the way we recruit, the way we retain, all of that was important. What came up a lot was improvement in operational efficiency and customer service quality. The way we operate, the processes, the timeliness, the way we follow through, the need for additional and faster responses, especially with enabled by technology. So improving our customer service. We certainly got to have number 3, increased support. So we've been really, really so fortunate with great leadership with our endowment and funding. We got to do more of that. It's a critical time for us, especially as we start building on research expansion. So our research capacity and R1 status, which we're right on the threshold for, we're going to go past that. It's the importance of growing, and it's the importance of also unleashing other opportunities as we achieve that milestone. Student experience and mental health is one of the areas we always need to work on. And we've talked about ways to do that, not only with technology, but with infrastructure and with additional support in terms of experts. And that means physical infrastructure as well as human resources related to the last bullet. So those are the things that are required for us. Next slide. So some examples of execution. If we listen and don't do anything, that's not very good, right? We're talking about we have to follow through and execute. So increasing velocity is important for us. We need to do things the right way, but increasing the velocity of execution and following through. If we're in a listening session and we're hearing ways to improve and it makes sense for us, we're acting on those. So we start to build a culture of faster execution and faster follow through. So one example that I've listed here for the first bullet is an expanded shuttle service. At the beginning of this year, we had a shuttle service relative to the year before that was truncated, especially in the eastern part of the town, over in Campus East area. There were a series of apartments where students were housed. It wasn't our apartments, but a number of Aggie students on the eastern side where the service of the shuttle didn't go through those areas this year. We listened. Students talked about it would really help out if we would restore or expand the shuttle service from where it is, and we did that. We expanded the shuttle service and we got really strong ridership right away. That was done a few weeks ago. And students talk about how much it's actually helped them. They feel safer. They get the class in a smoother way. And that's part of something that we did. We listened, we took action right away. What's also important is campus safety. The first thing we have to do is be safe. That's why we were so thankful at homecoming, we had a safe time. So on our campus safety improvements, every year there's a walk, usually at night, with student government, as well as our facilities folks and security, and many of the academic leaders to walk around campus together to look at areas where we can improve safety, especially increasing lighting in dark areas and around corners or trip hazards. So there were a number of projects that were identified as safety hazards. And so those were compiled. Now, for the record, there were 17 pages that were submitted. And so we got to the first 3 pages of some of the main things that we could fix right away. But over to the right is a list of all the things that were listed in various locations of campus. And it shows a check mark completed at the time this was done a couple of weeks ago when this list was compiled at the top. And at the bottom at that time was a list of projects that were still in status, that were still in progress as indicated in the status section with a yellow check mark to indicate we're working on those. Those are really important. So we're taking action on what we hear. So those of you that are participating in these listening sections, understand we are taking action. Data-informed decision-making is something we need to do more of. We have been using social media to help us make decisions about when we need to hold forums and when we need to relate in a different way or provide additional support for our students, our professional staff, and faculty based on sentiment, especially things like the election, for instance. We have a way to monitor social media to predict how the campus is doing. So that's an example of data-informed decision-making. We'll be using that kind of technology in a more rigorous way going forward to help inform our decisions. We are, after all, A&T. We have to embrace the T in A, in the A&T. Other things that are underway is we have heard about improving customer service, especially the way we answer the phone. So we're working on a new call center powered by AI to help with our customer service response. Our meeting practices, our policies, how we meet, how we get together, how much we meet. Our IT is really important. We have largely talked about IT in the form of access to the web or computer access. We're going to be focusing on high performance computing. Artificial intelligence will be shifting into that when we talk about information technology. It's a very far-reaching assessment of where we are and plans. We'll be always reassessing our curriculum to make sure it is relevant and up to date, and our business processes. So these are all things especially highlighted from all the constituents we looked at as ways that we can improve in all areas of our operations and all areas of our mandate to provide the best quality experience for our students and the most impactful research for our society. Next slide. So one of the things we're underway that's really important is strategic hiring, and in particular. There are 3 positions for a vice chancellor that are in various states of recruitment and engagement: vice chancellor for research, vice chancellor for university advancement, and vice chancellor for student affairs. Now, it's really important. Some of the most important decisions that I will ever have to make in my role are the leadership that we lead here, that we add here at this university. And what I would like to say is that we're taking our time. We're being very, very diligent about this process. And we're getting really, really strong interest from many top quality candidates. But here's the thing also that I want you to pay attention to. We really started this process of outreach for these vice chancellor positions in September. And it's November now. And we're on trajectory to have these leaders onboarded in January 2025. So we started in September and we're on trajectory to have these people onboarded in January. And if they are available and if we get to the point of negotiations and things go through right, that would be a remarkable accomplishment. Very few universities anywhere move that fast. Now we're taking our time to make the best decisions, but the idea is that the velocity of execution is increasing. How many universities start in September and in January they have 3 people in place that are key leaders? That doesn't happen very often at any university. And so this is really important for us. We're setting the standard. A&T is leading. Just the other day, last week, we were the first university in the state of North Carolina to develop and have approved a new bachelor's in AI. And I'm sure this will be discussed. Those are the ways that we are leading, and we will continue to do that. So strategic hiring is one of the ways also that indicates the velocity of execution is increasing. So to get finished, some of the observations that I've had from almost 100 days, all of what I just talked about can be summarized in purpose, processes, and technology. We know we need that. We talked about improving the customer service. the way we connect on campus, it's really important. What I've identified even is the way we connect and the way we meet. We have too many meetings, for instance. We need to really be focused on this critical time for us is focusing and distinguishing the difference between busy work and real work, right? This needs to be a place that is gravitationally attractive to do real, meaningful work. And the way we develop our leaders, the way we have the opportunity for everyone to be the best versions of themselves, that's really what we're going after. So we're really more conscious about how we spend our time when we're connecting with each other. We're coming there with real strong intention and purpose. We have to certainly integrate and accelerate technology into our workflows. And as I said, we will continue to evolve IT with high performance computing. So we'll be adopting high performance computing initiatives and also artificial intelligence. And that'll be talked about more today. The last thing I'll say is I've been at some good schools and I've seen lots of students over my career. I have never seen students as ready to lead with the resourcefulness, with the ability to solve problems, the ability to bring people together, that have a sense of confidence and a sense of understanding, purpose, and resilience and grit that A&T students have. So if we have A&T students next to other students, I know A&T students are going to outcompete and outlast and outsolve students anywhere in the world. There's no question about that. And that is why we have such record enrollments and we have such record demand for our career fair. And so we're going to continue to build on that because we have something that's absolutely special. The world needs more people that can solve complex problems and bring people together and lead. That's A&T all day long. And I can't think of a place that I'd rather be. So the last thing I'll leave you with is to let you know we've been pretty busy. So it was surprising when we put these contacts together to understand how many people we have been talking to. Hard to believe over this time period in less than 100 days in terms of direct contacts. And that means direct contacts like I'm reaching out to you right now, but most of these have been in physical spaces, in large auditoriums and things like that. It's been almost 40,000 direct contacts, and that averages about 400 per day over the time period. If you look at the broader engagement over different kinds of media, it's been 1.6 million. And with our social media, there have been over 60,000 unique impressions. So that's a lot of contact. So I've been busy the first 98 days, but I've never been more fulfilled and felt more purposeful and more privileged to help lead this amazing institution. Let me tell you, last thing I'll say, our best days are ahead and we're keeping our foot on the gas.
Thank you, Chancellor Martin. And before we move on to our next speaker, we have so many questions that are awaiting all of our panelists tonight, but one that comes up very commonly in the alumni directed to you, Chancellor Martin, is what is the thing that you most need, that you and your leadership team most need right now from our alumni?
I think alignment from the alumni. I think we all need to come together. Let me give you an example of that. About 17% of our alumni are right in the immediate area of Greensboro. So just imagine, instead of thinking about our campus being bordered by Market Street and Sullivan Street, think about if we look at that as an extended campus and we're really aligned with connection with each other, not just philanthropically, but also through our networks, we can really leverage that for additional partnerships and additional resources for economic development. So it is alignment. It's one thing if we are together in individual pods in individual places, We need to be aligned with the same person, the same mission, to understand what we're all doing. So all of us are speaking the same language, all of us understand the same challenges, and all of us are doing our own part, all 68,000 of us doing our own part to move forward together. And that's one of the big initiatives for us. Now, obviously, that involves specifics like philanthropy. It involves specifics like engagements and mentorships. But the number one thing is for us to know who we are and get strongly aligned.
Thank you, Chancellor. So much to think about and so much more for us to hear this evening, because we're going to answer a lot of these questions this evening. So let's move on to our next speaker. No stranger to this group, our Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Dr. Tanya Smith-Jackson, to be followed by Dr. Dwayne Tutt, who is our Assistant Vice Provost for Student Success. Provost, let's hear from you first.
All right, thank you, Todd, and good evening, everyone. I think you can imagine then why we are so fired up. You know, from the video that you saw, we have a great chancellor and a chancellor who is here to really take us out of the box into the next level. I wanted to welcome you and certainly share in that excitement about our Chancellor, James Martin II. We're in the season of innovation. The momentum continues, just as he said. We're going to keep our foot on the gas. I think we might even break some speed limits, actually.
Absolutely.
But we have truly embraced Chancellor James Martin's concept of A&T exponential. And I can tell you, I feel it across faculty, staff, students, administrators. We are in the next season, folks. And so it's truly an exciting time to be here at North Carolina A&T. So there are many updates that I'd love to share with you from the Division of Academic Affairs. We can't share them all. We are positioning ourselves more intentionally on global impact. You saw the map that the Chancellor shared earlier. We want to certainly make sure that our global impact is inclusive of a very significant area, which are countries in the African continent. This really matters. It matters so much that, you know, we're currently developing a memoranda of agreement with 4 universities in South Africa. We took a team there this summer. And of course, when Chancellor James Martin came here, he fully embraced the work that we're doing. We're also expanding what's called A&T Online. Now, you may be familiar with A&T Online that started about 5 years ago, but really we've been much more intentional because we do understand that current data is really showing us that brick and mortar is not so much where we should spend so much time concentrating. Online degrees are going to be the driver for universities as we move on to 2050. So we've increased our rate of change in this area and our strategies. But again, there's a whole lot that I'd love to share. We have to do that at another time because we want to save some time for Q&A. But I do want to first start with, and this is, I guess, why it's so big on the slide. Thank you to all of our alumni and our alumni chapters, in particular for your engagement with students, with prospective students helping us in admissions, with newly arriving students, our first year, and our continuing students. Your special events, your send-offs, your care packages for exam week, all the events you're holding in your geographic areas, I can tell you it's really making a difference to make sure that our students continue to be engaged and they're having a great experience. And you're really extending our reach every time you do something in your local areas. So we very much appreciate that. I'm going to share some information just real quick then about the new programs. As you know, our Chancellor has already mentioned one of our more recent approvals that we received. But I do want to remind you that this is the first year for our Doctor of Nursing practice where we have pulled in our first cohort of students. Those students started this fall, and they are well on their way to the Doctor of Nursing practice. The same thing for the PhD in criminal justice. We started out with a very strong cohort this fall, and so those doctoral students in criminal justice are already on their way, doing their research, engaging in various ways, and learning so that they can be transformative. We now, and that's the great exciting thing the Chancellor mentioned earlier, we now have received final approval for the Bachelor of Science in Artificial Intelligence. It's the first of its kind under this zip code in the state of North Carolina. So other institutions offer AI as a concentration, under degrees such as computer science, data science, etc. We are the first to have a focused full degree, Bachelor of Science in Artificial Intelligence. This is truly significant, and it shows really the fact that we had this talent already. We were capable of providing this degree. We just found that this was the right time, the right moment to make it happen. So we're pleased with that. The degree offering is through the College of Science and Technology and the College of Engineering. The College of Science and Technology, AI, will focus on applied artificial intelligence and developing technologies, for example, that are AI empowered. The College of Engineering will focus on advanced systems in artificial intelligence and focus more on algorithms and perfecting algorithms and other forms of modeling in order to make sure AI is functioning at a level that it can produce outputs and products that work for everyone. One thing I want to remind you too is that you know that about 2 years ago, we had approval for our physician assistant program through the UNC system. That program is well on track for provisional accreditation in 2025. And so we're looking forward to taking in our first physician assistant students next fall. There are a few other important updates I'd like to share with you, but we'll place that information in the chat. There are some dates that I'm hoping you'll share with students that you engage with, over the break, or students that you're engaged with in any alumni events that you plan to have. So I'll put those in the chat so that I don't take up too much time. And then now, Chancellor talked about the listening sessions and the alumni listening sessions, the other constituents, and I was in many of those sessions just listening and taking notes. And I wanted to make sure that we focus tonight's information on some of the things that came out of the alumni listening session. You expressed some needs or concerns or questions, and I wanted to make sure around student success that we give you updates so that you know what is happening, and we can reassure you that we are certainly listening. So with me tonight is Dr. Dwayne Tutt. He is the Assistant Vice Provost for Student Success. You may recall that in 2023, we launched our first University Student Success Office in the history of A&T. And that office is a centralized way to make sure that we are organizing the many support services and student success services that we provide across the campus. It's going to allow us to be more data informed. It's going to allow us to have a greater impact and simply organizing ourselves more about ways in which we can ensure our students are successful and that they have a great experience. So Dr. Tutt is going to provide some updates that are selectively that we have selected in order to let you know that we have listened to you from the alumni listening session, and we want to update you in that regard so you know where we are. So we have heard you, we're taking action, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Dwayne Tutt so that he can share some more information.
Thank you very much, Provost, and I'm going to jump right in. As Provost has said, we did launch the University Student Success Office. And a couple things that I want to point out as we launched this, the framework. Obviously, it was developed to promote student success. But within our framework, it was critical that we developed the analytical tools to be able to assess data. We wanted to be data informed. And you're going to hear that a lot. You've already heard it a lot tonight, and you will continue to hear that. And a lot of the data that we have collected since that time has been qualitative as well as quantitative. A lot of quantitative data that we have studied using our primary data of our students. And one of the things that we have talked about is taking that data and the knowledge gained from it and creating the atmosphere, the environment, so that our students can be successful. There are 3 slides that I'm going to present here tonight. They do come from what we have learned qualitatively as well as quantitatively over these few years. And also, the good news is we also heard similar comments regarding these 3 subjects when we were attending the listening sessions of our Chancellor. And the three slides that I'm going to present tonight, one will be the academic advising, going to speak to that. The second slide will be communications. And then the third slide will be academic support. So I start here with the USSO alumni, just talking a little bit about our advising models from fall of 22 to spring of 2025. On this slide, you see the students there. There are 4 of them. And what I want you to think about is when students arrive, I always we try to start with when they put their feet on the ground, when they get online, when they arrive to us, how are we going to advise them? Well, when you go over to the far left of this slide, you'll see fall 22, fall 23, the models that we were using then. Notice that there were freshmen undeclared, transfer undeclared, and below that you see the picture of the Fry, what we call now our Fry building, but beneath that you see CAE professional advisors. So need you to see something there. In 22 and 23, if a student enrolled at our institution and they had not chosen a major, they were defined as undeclared. If they were undeclared, their advisors would be professional advisors. And the key word there being professional. The operative word is professional. So CAE professional advisors have been taught and trained and educated specifically on how to advise. And so they have master's degrees, and that's where they would go for that first year, that first academic year. So we wanted them to have obviously have 30 hours within that first year, and then they would do their major. Also on the right side of this, you see fall 22, fall 23, freshmen declared and transfer declared. Now, if they came in and part of their enrollment process, they identified that they were going to study in a specific program, we defined them as declared students, meaning then that they would have faculty advisors. And so the faculty would be advising them if they were declared and they were freshmen or a transfer student. And on the left side, again, you have professional advisors. They've been trained to do this, and faculty advisors here for those that have chosen a major. Those of us that have taught obviously can say that, when we were trained in our discipline, whatever that discipline was, in my case, economics, well, you're taught economics in graduate school. You're not really taught how to advise. And your emphasis are on things of research. You're trying to prepare for classes. You're trying to make sure that you're building the syllabi against the learning outcomes that you need. So it's a different kind of advising that goes on that side. And so that made it kind of challenging for certain students. But what we also decided to do as we continue to progress in this, last year, fall of 23, we decided to hire 16 new CAE professional advisors. And the strategy there was that we wanted to allow our students to have the opportunity to position them that they could have that first year or so with a professional advisor, again, making the assumption that they needed it, whether they were declared or not, is where we were going with this. Okay. We wanted to be able to say, you know what, the professional advisors, we're going to take some of this load off of faculty advisors. And that's why you see in this slide, this man kind of thinking. That was something that our provost and we talked about, how do we change the model to make it more accessible and easier for these transition of freshmen as well as sophomores. And so what's going to happen in the spring of 2025 is that we're going to be bringing into the CAE, the professional advisors, students that are freshmen or sophomores. So we're going to bring in the sophomore group now, along with the transfers that are still undeclared, but we're going to bring these folk in to give them CA advising. That is a tremendous move. It is a model that we talk about as being more centralized. It's going back for our freshmen and sophomores into our Fry building where we do have our professional advisors. And so we're excited about that. That's a model. Similar models are being used all over the country, especially R1s. So these R1 institutions, the faculty are driven to try to produce their papers, work on making sure that they're doing their research. And what we're doing is taking some of that work away from the advising for the first 2 years of these students. And what the R1 institutions will do, which we will be doing as well, is that the faculty now becomes more mentor and they become more coaches. And so we'll create the environment within our colleges, working with our deans and such, that we'll create these different kinds of events where we will have students along with faculty so that the freshmen and sophomores can sit and learn and talk to and be exposed to this idea of what faculty might want them to know. However, as far as their day-to-day paperwork, getting things processed are going to fall back on our professional advisors. That is something that we're doing. We're thinking down the road with regards to our R1, making sure that we're trying to make sure that our faculty can win, but also obviously making sure that our students win, because if our students win, everybody's going to win. Next slide, please. The next slide, communications. What we also have learned over these years is that, no matter how hard we seem to try, sometimes our students just don't seem to get the message. And we saw that in our quantitative data. We heard it again within our listening sessions. And I'm very pleased to say that just last month, October the 14th, we launched our Aggie, what we call Aggie, it's our AI chatbot. And it is something that is working for us. 98% of our undergraduate students, because that's our first launch group. When we launched it last month, it was undergraduates. 98% of those students on the platform opted in. So yes, I'll participate. You can send me the messages. At this point, we're just within a month. We have we're approaching about a third of our students being actively involved with our Aggie chat box. And so what you see on this page are some of the conversations that we've had with students, where we send out a message. So on the far left, hi, Aggie, can I ask you any questions? Somebody's responding. Absolutely. The bot responds. Absolutely. And what we're seeing in the responses that we get back is that students are pretty excited about that. They think it's pretty cool that they're speaking to this chat bot and they're getting these automatic responses. So they can ask questions like financial aid. And what's cool about the chat bot is that we have built this base of knowledge within it. And the beauty of the way in which this thing is structured is it's not just A&T based knowledge within it. Our vendor allows us access to the base knowledge of all across the country, so that students that have responded to AI, the chat bot, when it sees certain keywords, it knows how to perform. It knows what to feed them. It knows what information they may need. It directs them. Obviously, it's been geared towards our campus with regards to some of the responses, and we're excited about the participation that we're getting. We'll get things like, how do I respond from a class? And then the chat bot, well, it knows based upon those keywords, okay, those tag words, it spells out, okay, here's the response we're going to give you. Here's your process. And they're able to communicate back and forth. One of the things that we have noticed, and today we talked about it in one of our meetings, and I want to share it with you. We send out these messages as well, wellness messages. So when students, the period where they were in their midterms, well, we sent out a midterm kind of wellness check among our students. Well, we did get back responses that, to be quite candid with you guys, we didn't anticipate. Some of them can become very graphic with regards to problems that they may be having at home, and so on and so forth. And the chat bot has been developed. Once it sees and reads those key words, it knows how to respond. For instance, it will immediately send word out to our university police department about certain things. If it sees a keyword, it notifies them. Not only does it notify them, but we get a response within our own University Student Success Office of being able to follow up, so that we can make sure that if they respond, if there's some sort of crises, if there's something going on in their lives, if they need counseling, we send it to them through the chat, but we also are able to follow up ourselves just to make sure that things are happening. We think that is very positive. So far, it's been extremely good for us. We do have communication channels, and we are communicating better. Again, just within 1 month, we are communicating with 1/3 of our students on the undergraduate side. And then within the last couple of days, we are starting to move towards the next group, which is our graduate students. We're working with the grad school right now. Again, different kinds of messages, but still we're going to use AI to make sure that we're communicating, getting the messages out to those students that we want to get out. And so we have a lot of different messages that we've sent out, and we are getting responses to them. So we're excited about our communications channel, this new tool that we have called Aggie AI Chatbot. And what we simply call it is Aggie. It is Aggie. That is the name that we have given it. The last slide, please. Last slide.
Thank you, Dr. Tutt. If you would just summarize this one quickly, and we'll go to the next presentation.
I will. And so Student Success Office, the tutoring. I want you to see tutoring virtual and then NCAT. We have a 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365-day virtual tutoring. So when our students are looking for tutoring, and let's say that it's after hours. So 40%, the data says 40% of our students are asking for help after 7 p.m. Well, now we have a virtual 24/7 where they can actually reach out to someone in chemistry. For instance, young person needs chemistry help. It's 12 o'clock at night. They're doing their homework. Well, they can reach someone. We have Alex, which uses AI. We have a writing center. And what I'm going to say here, just to summarize this really quick, we're using as much AI as we possibly can. Our NC A&T goal here is to graduate these students in 4 years. And one of the methods that we're using is 15 earned credit hours per semester will get you out of your undergraduate degree within 4 years. And that's what we're promoting to do. And I'll stop right there. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Dr. Tutt. Folks, it is clear we have embraced AI. We've embraced it for teaching and learning, and certainly many of our faculty have been doing AI research, over the last 12 years or so. But we're also embracing AI for our business processes. But we see that there are a few questions in the Q&A, and we will be writing answers back to you. And so we'll check off at this point so that the program can continue. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Provost, and thank you, Dr. Tutt. Very informative stuff there. And I believe I have next on the schedule here, it looks like our Director of Intercollegiate Athletics. Is that true?
That is correct, yes.
Okay,
thanks,
fantastic. So it's Mr. Earl Hilton, our Director of Intercollegiate Athletics. And I know some of you have questions that you posed already on athletics. So Earl, take it away.
Thank you, Todd. Earlier, Crystal sent me a polite note saying that I'm inviting me to turn my camera off. I think she saw that I was watching the Lady Aggies play Winston-Salem tonight on my phone. I hope all of you have your eyes split between our presentations and the Lady Aggies. I think we're up by 25 midway through the third period right now. So exciting news there with women's basketball. Thanks for the time tonight. I'm going to move fast because we do want to stay on track. Before we get to any of this, I do want to address the frustrations, certainly with our football program right now. No one is more disappointed in our current level of football performance than Coach Brown and our student athletes. And certainly they are keenly aware of the frustration that is felt by the Aggie faithful everywhere. I certainly appreciate your continued support of our young men in this regard as we work through this transition process. Please know that we are fully engaged in the conversations, the evaluations, the deliberations, the investments, the strategic planning that will be necessary for us to set ourselves up for sustained success in the athletics department generally, but specifically with football, so that we can build back to where we once were and beyond, frankly, from where we have been in the past. But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's on everybody's mind. And so let's move to the capital campaign. Next slide, please. You are aware we've talked about a capital campaign for several years. We have gone through a number of conversations and presentations. We went through a strategic planning process with Sasaki to look at what our needs were and are as an institution if we were going to build a Cadillac athletics facility program. We took that information and partnered with another consulting group to do a feasibility study to determine if we were ready, we as an institution, as a community, ready to be engaged in a full-blown $100 million capital campaign for athletics. The information we received back is that we were not. We're not presently, for a number of reasons, prepared for that kind of a campaign. So the recommendation was we don't try to launch a $100 million capital campaign for athletics, but that we bite off smaller pieces. You see there in the bottom some of the items that we're working on right now. Certainly some of the stuff in Corbett, practice fields for football. The Sports Performance Center is the dome that we're retrofitting for athletics. We're building a Hall of Fame, an actual structure, creating some space in Corbett that will work for the Hall of Fame. We're replacing the track, and more Memorial Stadium continues to be the biggest project that we're working through with the city and the State Historical Society to make progress there to bring that facility up to code and functionality. We will continue to have conversations about the capital campaign and the facilities needs in athletics because they exist and must be addressed. But we're going to, as the Chancellor spoke earlier about alignment, we are going to align our timing, our needs with the broader campus and proceed with that capital campaign either independently under his direction or as part of a larger university capital campaign in the future. So I just want to close the loop, put a bow on the capital campaign. We are continuing to invest in facilities, but we are not going to launch a full-on athletics campaign, capital campaign in the immediate future. Next slide, please. We also talked, I get questions sometimes about the transfer portal. We're not going to try to walk through all of this detail here, but I do want to give you some sense of the number of student athletes who have, from A&T, who have been in the portal, and the disposition of some of those student athletes over the past 6 years. Portal, as we know it today, opened in 2018. Historically, there were penalties associated with transferring once you came to an institution on athletics aid. You faced a penalty across the major sports, the revenue sports, if you left that institution and went to another one. There was an eligibility and a seasons of competition penalty. Those barriers to transfer went away in 2018. You can now transfer in any sport without penalty. And this, as most of you are aware, has resulted in a proliferation of transfer student athletes, tens of thousands over the course of the last 6 years. You see the numbers at A&T in the top left-hand corner there by year. The bottom left-hand corner, that pie chart may be the most descriptive for us. The part of the pie that's marked in red are the student athletes who went into the transfer portal and actually transferred. They actually were able to go from A&T to another institution, and 75% of them went D1 to D1. They transferred from us to Wake Forest, or us to App State, or us to Virginia Tech, which is ideally what you would expect them to be able to do. Those in green, that 15% you see there, are student athletes who went into the portal and then withdrew that request, meaning they were free to come back to A&T. Some of them came back on scholarship and were part of our teams. That has happened in a couple of cases. Most of them came back to A&T but did not participate in sport. They stayed as students, paid their own way, but did not participate in sport. The ones that are most troubling, that concern me the most, is that 43%. Those are students who went into the portal and did not find a home. They were not able to transfer either from D1 to D1 or D1 to D2 or D1 to D3. And so they are essentially portal orphans. They have not come back to A&T as students, and they are not, at least according to our records, attending school somewhere else. And so their progress toward a bachelor's degree has been stunted in a material way. The data has not been collected and is not being analyzed. My anecdotal sense is that the group that is most impacted by this are African-American males. We will get the data to find out if that's true, but that's the group that I worry about the most. Our young men are the ones who are most impacted by this particular phenomenon of the transfer portal. That is an area that continues to concern me, and bears continued focus. That big piece of chart on the right-hand side is just the percentage of teams that have gone to of student athletes from each team that have gone into the portal on average. And again, fascinating, interesting, but not necessarily something we're going to spend a lot of time on tonight. Next slide, please. And then I'm racing through these, and we're not even going to get to the last topic in the interest of time. As I have said in the past, I am anxious and willing to talk to anyone who would like to contact me offline, or a person come by my office, let's visit and talk. I'll walk you through these slides and what I think it tells us. This is a reflection of our academic progress, measured across three variables. The GSR, which is the blue bar, is the graduation success rate. That is a metric that applies to student athletes only. The FGR is the federal graduation rate, and that is the federal graduation rate that applies to all students generally. And then the APR, again, is a metric that applies only to student athletes, and it's a measurement of their retention and their eligibility. Now, the legend on the left-hand side corresponds with the two bars, the blue and the gold, and then the legend on the right-hand side corresponds with the APR scores. And you see the APR scores and the graduation rates through history. What I want to share with you today is that this year is our best year across all three variables in our history. This is the highest score we've ever had cumulatively, APR, GSR, and FGR across all of our student athletes, all of our teams. Fantastic work by our student athletes and by our Center for Academic Excellence and our Student Athlete Academic Enhancement Program. The advisors there, top notch, first-rate job helping our student athletes. All right, the last set of slides that, again, we're not going to talk through tonight are about the House settlement. And you can flip through those, whoever's running the presentation tonight. The House settlement is the largest thing happening in college athletics right now, and will fundamentally change Division I athletics. If it is approved and certified, it will change the nature of college sport in a material way. It will be different after the House settlement in a way that has never been before. That process is moving forward right now. It's come out from the first judge with preliminary approval. They're attempting to certify a class now. We expect to know by February whether the class has been certified. It impacts student athletes between 2016 and 2024 at all Division I institutions. It will have significant economic impact on A&T and every Division I school. It will also potentially send a considerable amount of revenue to a few selected sports and individuals. It's a $2.8 billion settlement. A&T's portion of that will be about $3 million, $300,000 over the next 10 years. We'll have to pay back or pay to settle this case. Again, we'll know by February if the class is going to certify. We'll have to make a decisions in March about what our policy, our posture will be relative to that settlement. Payments will begin being made to these student athletes by March of 2025. Again, you've got 5 or 6 slides there that we are not going to walk through right now about the House settlement. But again, if someone has questions, I would love to talk you through what that means and how it will impact A&T. I do want to assure you that the Board of Trustees, the Chancellor's Office, the Athletics Department, we are knee deep in the details of the House settlement and what it might mean, and looking forward, positioning ourselves. And I think we're well positioned. I really do think we're well positioned as an institution to leverage this new landscape. And this is a word that we've used a lot tonight, exponentially, to push ourselves forward in ways that we couldn't have imagined previously. For those of you who are not watching at home, we're up by 19 now with 25 seconds left in the third period. That is my report.
Thanks very much, Mr. Hilton. We've heard a lot about enrollment numbers tonight, those big application numbers, big entering class numbers, and our largest ever student body of 14,311 students. So to give us an update on enrollment management and where we are already headed now for 2025-26 is Joseph Montgomery, our Associate Vice Provost for Enrollment Management. Joseph?
Thank you, Todd, and good evening to everyone that's joining us tonight. So I'm excited to share information about where we are with our enrollment as we continue to track towards our fall enrollment. We've said this a lot. Total head count enrollment for the fall is 14,311. And so we were able to stretch our growth of enrollment once again now for the 11th straight year. Next slide, please. And to be clear about the new student class, our freshman enrollment was 2,735 students. We got 1,445 students from in-state. Now, out-of-state student numbers were 1,290. We did achieve the constraints of this system with our out-of-state numbers, so we were able to go under the cap this year. We managed that very well to make certain that we continue to abide by the mandates from the system as it relates to out-of-state students. The 1,290 that you see here represents any out-of-state student, so it does not exclude any of our waiver major students that come to the university. An example would be all of our students enrolling into the College of Engineering. They do not count towards us with our out-of-state cap. In terms of the kind of overall validated on our enrollment, you see that our transfer numbers were very strong this year at 696 compared to 701 last year. We did our graduate degree, our graduate college did a really good job this year with enrolling larger numbers of students. New masters, you can see that growth was 74. New doctoral students grew by 16. Our continuing student population grew the most this year. A lot of that was contributed to some of the things that we did this year in terms of enrolling more students in the spring term compared to growing the number of students that we get across the fall term. That was done intentionally because we are very conscious about how we are able to serve the students that we bring. And so being able to spread out the growth across the academic calendar allowed us to be able to do that. Alumni recruitment, we thank all of you for your support. Right now, we currently have over 290 of you that are certified to go out and talk to students. So far this fall, you have covered 62 programs. This photo is a good representation of our Director of Undergraduate Admissions and Associate Director at the recent Alfred Street big college fair in the DC area. And you all participated on a day where we were saturated with visitors. In fact, we were one of the busiest, or if not the busiest table at one of the largest HBCU college fairs in the nation. And so we thank you, and we thank the 7 of you who participated on that particular event. So thank you for all of your continued support. Your continued support allows us to continue to be very popular amongst our prospective students. The other thing is you all asked for the ability to be able to order and have your own allotment of recruitment materials. We work with alumni relations to come up with a set of things that are already university approved. And this is a university vendor that's already approved that will allow you to get the wristbands and pins and so on to help support your recruitment efforts. We will continue to provide supporting materials as we can. Obviously, we're very popular, so all of the supporting things that we use in recruitment is very expensive. So I want to make certain that you are very aware of that. Lastly, I wanted to give an update year over year in terms of applications. I want you to know that we're still popular and that there are more students applying to us year over year. When I made this slide, we were at 27,944 applications. I'll tell you, I peeped at it while we've been on this town hall tonight. We're at 29,500 now. So we will hit about 30,000 applications in the next 2 weeks. And that's on track of about 13 to 14% up year over year in terms of the interest. And so I anticipate that we may hit somewhere close to 50,000 applicants to the university. So we're very popular still. It has a lot to do with everything that we've kind of talked about tonight in terms of our reputation, in terms of what's happening at the university. The young people are hearing about it. Their families are hearing about it. And so they want to be a part of it. So again, thank you for all your support. And I want to make certain that you all are very aware that we are still very popular amongst young people.
Thanks very much, Joseph. And could we go back to that slide just one moment? I just want everyone to appreciate that 8 years ago, when I came to North Carolina A&T, we were pulling in about 12,000 applications a year. The idea that we would hit 20,000, much less 30,000, was not even a gleam in anyone's eye. So to see our applications now at nearly 30,000 before even getting to the spring term is just incredible. And it's because of that incredible brand that we continue to build for North Carolina A&T. As Joseph is saying, the parents and students want to be part of this place. For our last presentation here, thanks, Joseph, we have Ken Sigmund, our Vice President for University Advancement, and this is Ken's last town hall with us tonight. Ken, we're going to miss you, but please share a bit with us.
Yeah, absolutely, Todd. Well, thank you, and we'll just keep the good news going because I want you to share a few things with you so you see that the university is in a good financial footing, thanks to your support and the great work of the advancement team to keep the momentum going and keeping us on the trajectory that we've been on. So if we go to the next slide, I just want to share a little bit about our fundraising results, talk a little bit about homecoming, and we'll talk about some upcoming things. But when you look at our fundraising over the roughly last 10 years, you can see that the trend continues to go up. We've gotten some extraordinary gifts in a couple of years. This past year was our second best year on record. That FY21 number does not include a $45 million gift from Mackenzie Scott, only because it would skew off the chart and would be hard to read. But you can see that fundraising continues strong. We had a 93% increase over the prior year with almost $51 million in gifts and commitments. And so this is continues to be a great trend for us, and an annualized growth of over 400% since FY16. So thanks to you all for your continued support, your continued advocacy, and helping us expand our footprint and expand our role in advancing the university. Next slide, please. This shows you an even more important long-term goal of ours, and that is raising our endowment per student ratio. And that is a function of our long-term funding for our students through the scholarships that you've endowed and programs and professorships and colleges and things like that. So as you can see, we have increased that from just slightly over $4,400 and 10 years ago to now that we have over $14,000 per student in our endowment per student ratio. So that means we're in a very good position, not only to support today's students with the various needs and in terms of expanding our funding across the entire spectrum of the university, but it bodes well for the future. We partner very well with Robert Pompey and the Board of Trustees Endowment Committee to make sure those funds are invested well and that they generate what we call intergenerational equity. And that means that we will have the equivalent and more dollars down the road for future generations of Aggies. Endowment reports should be coming out to those of you who have endowed funds with us at the end of this calendar year. We have to wait until all the books are closed and audited, and we get the final audit results, which we expect this week, but they're all prepared and should be coming out to you soon. So we hope you enjoy to see not only the impact of your gift, but also how it is truly an investment in the long-term future for the university. Next slide, please. And then our cost per dollar raised, which is also an important function for us. This is part of a larger group of key performance indicators that we use to measure our effectiveness and our return on investment to the university through connecting you to needs of the institution based on your passions. And so, as you can see, we have gotten our cost per dollar raised down to less than 8 cents a dollar to raise. So we spend about $4.2 million in our entire budget, but we have brought in last year over $51 million. So it shows you that return on investment and how effective we are at doing our work. Now, the other beauty of that is, again, working with Mr. Pompey and the Chancellor and others, this funding does not come out of your gift. So all of your gift goes directly to what you want to support, whether you're putting it into endowment or for current use. We have been creative with our funding, and we get funded through sources other than a donor's gift. And so even though it comes from other sources, our goal is to keep that at a very low level to make sure that we are being as efficient and effective, but also making sure that we are providing that intergenerational equity for the future. So again, anything under about 25 cents on the dollar is really good. And so we continue to try to drive that down. Next slide, please. So you heard Crystal touch on and Todd touch on the 90th edition of the greatest homecoming on earth. Over 130,000 people. To give you some point of reference, if you follow Formula One racing, one of the largest multinational global sporting events, that's about what they get for an event. And so to have that many people attend all of our events over the week, you can imagine what kind of engagement opportunities are there, what that does for the city of Greensboro, but what that also does for the institution. And as we've gotten more diverse in our fundraising efforts, we have expanded into reaching various groups through our homecoming efforts too. Our Top of the Tea Party, that's a new event that we have for our donors below 40 years of age. And they give a $500 minimum during the prior fiscal year. We have a great lounge setting in the Deese Ballroom in the Student Center for them to thank them, much like we do for the other alums on Friday night. At donor reception, reach capacity again, the Chancellor Circle level. We can't thank those folks enough for their generous support. We were able to sit down and have them get a chance to know a little bit more about the Chancellor Martin too, as he takes the helm for A&T. And then of course our alumni concert, again, sold out, record numbers at that. We're busting at the seams for all of our events, but that's a good sign for the position that A&T is in for not only alumni engagement, but also advocacy and for fundraising. One of the things I would also point out is during the homecoming week, we did have a homecoming giving challenge, and we set a new record for the giving just during that week of over $2 million. So I want to thank you all for not only coming back and having a party and getting to revisit with your classmates and fellow alumni, but doing it with a real purpose too, and that is continuing to advance this fine institution. Next slide, please. And of course, as I mentioned, what a great economic impact it is for the city of Greensboro. And thanks to Crystal Boyce and her team, her leadership, we have really engaged with the city and with our partner organizations like the Sheraton and other hotels. And so hopefully you noticed in more of the hotels now, you saw that there was A&T branding. We gave them flags to fly on the flagpoles. We gave them balloon displays, all kinds of things to really turn Greensboro into a blue and gold city for the weekend. And so you see those numbers, how many actual people come in during that week, and delivered during that last homecoming about $44 million in terms of economic impact, and then $20 million new dollars are spent in preparation for homecoming. So it is a great economic impact for Greensboro and the greater community. But that comes back to us in the form of some hotel rebates and things like that that help fund our National Alumni Scholars. We've made a commitment to not only take the proceeds from the concert, but also from these institutions in order to continue to fund our National Alumni Scholars and grow that endowment. Next slide, please. And so to kick off the season of giving, hopefully those of you who are donors will be receiving your Thanksgiving card from us soon, but it is the giving season, and we kick that off with Giving Tuesday. We have a goal of $115,000 this year. We, again, coming off of a strong homecoming giving challenge, tempered our numbers there, but I certainly hope you all will help come and blow out the numbers that we had last year and help us exceed this goal by a great number. This December 3rd, as you can see, you can text Aggie to that number 71777 or visit us online at ncat.edu/give. And we now offer other ways to give this other than credit cards. You can do Venmo, Apple Pay, PayPal, and a lot of other sources now. So we hope you'll join us in kicking off the giving season with Giving Tuesday. This is one of the several giving challenges we have during the year, one for young alumni with our students. We have the homecoming challenge as well as this. So I know you all will respond as you always do in helping make this an impactful day of giving. Next slide, please. Next slide. So as Todd said, this is my swan song. So I'm going to take a executive privilege here just to help round some things out and take a victory lap, because this really is a result of all of you on this call and many others. I've just been honored and privileged to be able to lead this effort over the last 10 years. But in the past 10 years, you can see we launched and ran the most successful campaign, not only in the history of A&T, but also among all the public HBCUs. We started out to raise $85 million. We ended up raising over $181 million. We tripled the number of endowed scholarships, which means we not only can offer more money to our students, but also to more students. So it's a bit of a double whammy there, and helps us in so many ways in what Joe Montgomery is doing and everyone else in terms of student enrollment, but also in retention and completion. Those scholarships reach a wide variety of students. We have 2 named colleges now from donors. We not only have the Dease College of Business and Economics, but we also named the John and Kathy Hairston College of Health and Human Sciences, the first for A&T. And so it has put those 2 colleges on the fast track for more preeminence than they have had already. And working with Earl Hilton and Robert Pompey and others, we were able to secure the first donor naming for a stadium, and it was the first during that time in the MEAC. And so we were very proud of getting the Truist name, originally BB&T, on the stadium for that significant gift that they made and what that's allowed us to do. Endowment, as I mentioned earlier, is so critical. And when you think about all the household name institutions, the thing they all have in common is significant endowments and funding. So we're on that path, and we're delighted to see that we're on that path to now well over $200 million in the university's endowment. It was somewhere around 30 million or so when we started 10 years ago. And our endowment per student ratio, as I showed you earlier, has almost tripled to the point we'll have now sustainable funding for the future. We're now actually surpassing a lot of the other institutions in the system. And so we're now in the top third in terms of our endowment overall, but also our endowment per student ratio. And as we mentioned, our 3-year average now in giving is surpassed the $30 million mark. We've raised over $300 million in the last 10 years. And by all calculations that we can come up with, that's more than the institution has raised in the 120, roughly 5 years prior. And so again, I have to thank you all, because it's not just us, it's your generosity, it's your belief in the institution, and it's your belief in the future of this institution to make those kind of significant perpetual investments. The campaign brought us the largest number of 7- and 8-figure gifts ever. Our most recent was a $20 million gift from a family foundation. And more of you are involved in more meaningful ways as a result of the campaign too, serving on boards, serving in various leadership capacities. And so, again, I owe it all to you. We don't do this in a silo. It takes all of us to make this happen. And I have a great team of almost 40 advancement professionals that I have to thank as well. They work hard and diligently to make this happen day in and day out, because they believe in it that strongly as well. So you can go next slide, please. I just want to close by saying thank you very much. It's been a great journey the last 10 years. I've got to meet some great people from all walks of life. I have got to be involved in a lot of amazing projects and gotten to know a lot of you who are here with us tonight as well. So I will close this as I began almost 10 years ago and saying, Aggie pride. So thank you very much. Crystal and Todd, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Ken, and congratulations on a great 10-year run. We certainly appreciate the legacy that you leave behind at North Carolina A&T. Folks, let's move into Q&A right away. We're going to go another 15 minutes, even though we've run past our allotted time here. We are going to continue until 9 o'clock. And so if all of our panelists could just be ready with questions as they come. The first one I'm going to pose here came from one of the questions posed in advance. And the questioner asks, where are we on the journey to R1? Provost, Chancellor, I think you both will want a chance at this. I think everyone should know, though, that in the previous school year, 2023-24, A&T surpassed the criteria that Carnegie has established as an entry point for R1. And by saying that, I mean that we graduated more than 70 doctoral students and expended more than $50 million in research spending. So we've already made it for that 1 year, but that's not the end of it. Provost, can you share, please, what the next steps are?
Absolutely. I did see that the Chancellor unmuted first. Chancellor, do you want to say anything, or I can also go right there?
Well, sure. What I was going to say, you alluded to, Todd, is, and I'm sure the provost will address this, is that we have surpassed the criteria for R1. It's somewhat arbitrary in that the year in which we exceeded the criteria was not the year of recording, right? They typically assess where we are every 3 years. So in 3 more years, we'll do an assessment. So the previous assessment was last year. So if this were last year, we would be classified as an R1. All I was going to say is that is almost terminal when we think about reaching R1. It is about research expansion. And so we're going to do a lot more than that. But what I wanted to talk to you about also is you asked, where are we? And so coming in from the outside is often helpful to see where we are in a different way. There are really three phases. If I look at the growth of a research institution, we have to understand we are where we are because of when we started. That's the single biggest criterion we have to look at. But there are really three phases. The first phase is when you have lots of really great investigators on research that grab awards, right? And you start to have lots of those, more and more individual investigators doing awards. Phase two is when you start to have clustering. And that is when lots of investigators start to get together and get bigger proposals that are more complex and interdisciplinary, and centers are starting to developing. So that clustering is a phase two. Phase three is really institutional level inspired research where the institution itself is sophisticated and mature to sponsor lots of wide, diverse research activities where the institution is driving research to investigators and its broad competency for research in a mature fashion. That is the top level. I would classify us in level two, right? We're sort of getting toward the middle or the end of level two where we have clustering. And so the next phase is to have the institution drive that growth. And that's going to be through partnership, it's going to be through strategic hires, it's going to be through advanced technology areas as we connect in those areas for strategic growth. And that's how we characterize where we are. We're going to get there fast because of the partnering and the strategic hiring.
Thank you, Chancellor. Provost. I certainly agree. Yeah, I'll just add to Chancellor's level two. I think we are in that level two where we are clustering. About a year and a half ago, we decided to make sure that we provided support in proposal development for faculty or teams of faculty who were going after large grants. And typically, if they were going after grants that are 5 million or more, we would make sure they had a support team along the way to help with the technicalities of, ensuring that the administration of the teams and also making sure that they're able to get all the paperwork done and then focus on the excellence and their expertise in the narratives that they were writing for those grant proposals, that would be able to happen. So the clustering is occurring in that way where we're supporting more clusters of faculty who are going after the larger grants. And we're also hiring in clusters. So we have hired clusters of faculty in artificial intelligence, for example. So we started that last spring, and health disparities as well. These are big ticket areas where interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, where teams of faculty come together and go after the larger grants, where they can be much more successful in that way. So yes, I agree, Chancellor, we're in level two, and folks, just like you said, foot on the gas, we're going to get there fast.
In terms of the next steps for A&T, it's my understanding that we go up for evaluation in 2028. Is that accurate?
Well, we'll go up for evaluation in the next poll, and it will be 2028 that likely the announcement will come out. The data, though, where the data will come from might be the year before that.
And so our challenge, so that everyone on the phone is aligned on the same point, is to continue to grow in these areas, to continue to expand and ensure that our performance over the next couple of years as we go toward that evaluation continues to exceed those criteria. Thank you both for very thoughtful answers on that. For the next question, I want to go back to Ken Sigmund. Ken, we got one more thing for you to answer here, and certainly Vice Chancellor Pompey, you're welcome to join in on this too. The question is this: do you believe that the NC A&T endowment can reach at least $1 billion by or before 2030. I believe that goal is closely aligned to the institutional goal of R1 status.
I'm glad I only got one more month. No, I do believe it's possible within the next, by 2030. Probably not unless we get, really some more significant kind of gifts in the door. But what I can say is that, what Robert and the Board of Trustees do very well is being good stewards of those funds and making sure they're invested well and provide not only growth and current return, but outpace inflation, all the other things. And with new giving, I could certainly see us at $500 million by 2030. We're never satisfied. Our goal is set now to 250. We surpassed 200. Now we're on the way to 250, and 500 would certainly be another nice round number. And I think, again, with the very generous giving that we've experienced from all of our alumni and friends and corporate and foundation partners, along with the continued investment and good stewardship, I could easily see it at $500 million.
Thank you, Ken. Robert, would you like to have a bite at this too?
Ken throws that challenge out to me as he's walking out the door. we will certainly aspire to grow as aggressively as we can, and thanks to many of you that are attending tonight. You've been a big reason, the reason that we're growing to where we are, and you're going to be the reason that we're going to get to that next level. So 500 million is that next number that's in my mind, and I do hope that we can get there by 2030.
Great. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Ken, both. Let's go back to Crystal Boyce for this one. Crystal, there were a few alums who expressed concerns about the reservation process for the Sheraton and other partner hotels at GEHO this year. What can you tell them about that registration process and how we're handling it for this next year?
Sure. Thank you, Todd. And thank you to everyone that stays in one of our partner hotels. The partnerships that we have, we work with the Greensboro Visitor and Convention Bureau, Visitors Bureau, to ensure that we have allotments of rooms and they become our official hotel partners who have set rates. So we are working with the Greensboro Convention and Visitors Bureau to secure more hotels for 2025. We will be releasing that information as our partnerships are confirmed. We have a few, but we will update that on the Alumni Relations website, as well as send out an email to all alumni. Our Sheraton process takes place in the first part of the year. So that's typically early spring, where we start the Sheraton reservations process, and we will email that information out to all alumni. We do have a donor priority, and those are for alumni and friends and donors that are in the Chancellor's Circle giving level, which is $2,500 or more, and that will be consideration for the fiscal year that we're in, that started July 1 of 2024 and will end June 30th of 2025.
Great. Thank you, Crystal. And while we're with you, I just want to acknowledge too that counting of 132,000 people this year for attending the official homecoming events with the university, that was very intentional. And that's something that Crystal has championed for us to know more about who is coming to homecoming and what the true economic impact of that is. We did sort of a back of the envelope computation for the current economic impact study that showed 44 million. I don't think anyone believes it's really that low. So we're pursuing a new study to understand exactly how much that's generating through our area here. And as we do, we're going to adjust requests of the city and of partners with homecoming to step up and do more to support this event on an annual basis. Crystal, anything else you want to add about homecoming?
Absolutely. So thank you. You covered the future of having an economic impact study. So we need all of our alumni when we reach out to you to be a champion with us, to respond and share that information so we can build that study and enhance the partnerships that we have for what we know is the greatest homecoming on earth that continues to grow. So we need your partnership to support our official partners when we have them, and provide the data that we request in that. So we look forward to engagement with you at homecoming and beyond. So be looking out for more opportunities to engage with the university at a higher level moving forward.
Great. Thank you for all of that, Crystal. Earl, I wonder if we could come back to you for a second. There are a number of alumni in talking about the football program who are generally asking the question, what is our plan for rebuilding the football program and the football team? I wonder if you'd want to take a shot at that.
Certainly, generally, we're not going to talk specifics about anything at this level, but we are in the process of continuing evaluation of the resources and the investments that we need to make, that we need to bring to bear to be successful in this new space. And when I say new space, I'm not just talking about conference affiliation. I'm talking about the new world of Division I athletics with transfer portals and NILs. We knew when we started this journey that we were behind from a facilities perspective. And we recognize that that is a continuing challenge for us. But there are other areas that we will need to invest in from people, from equipment, from processes to bring us into a place where we can be competitive, not just in football, but across all of our sports, in the new Division I and certainly in our new conference affiliation with the Coastal Athletic Association. Those conversations are ongoing and nearly continuous, especially in these early years as we're trying to ramp up rapidly across a number of fronts to shore up what we knew were deficiencies and then to react and to predict the changing landscape that exists because of the house settlement, the transfer portal, and NIL, which were not part of anybody's calculus, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. So that's a very general answer, Todd, to that question.
Thank you, Earl. I appreciate that. Chancellor Martin, let's come back to you for the last questions that we'll ask here before we let everybody go on their way for the rest of the evening. I've condensed several questions that alumni have posed really into one, and it's this: what are your top priorities for the university?
Well, that's fairly simple. First of all, is the student experience. So everything we do is focused on student experience, and that means our level of accountability as well as the infrastructure, the technology. And so we're hard at work understanding how to make this the most effective campus environment to have the best student experience. And part of that is expansion to other types of modalities, especially a much more robust hybrid and online program as well. That's part of where we need to go. Secondly, it's really important what I talked about earlier about the strategic hires. It's important that if we think of ourselves as a university, if we think of ourselves as a sports team, like a baseball team, as a farm team, you have minor league teams and you have the major league teams. We have generally raised up really high-performing faculty and high-performing professional staff only to see them reach really good levels of stardom and then be recruited off somewhere else. We have been a farm team in many different ways. We want to shift that around where we are the place where people want to be. We need to be a net attractor of the best talent, not a farm team. The other part that's important about that is as we go toward R1 status and well beyond R1 status, much of that work it takes years to build some of the platforms necessary. One example is Department of Defense work. That will be a larger part of our research portfolio. To do Department of Defense work, that is a relationship-driven type of research partnership. It's who you know, and it takes years to build those relationships. We don't have years to build those relationships. So what do? You get people here that already have those relationships. That's part of the exponential part. So that involves strategic hiring of people, not just for who they are, but for what they can bring, the networks and the resources and knowledge networks and experts and capabilities that they're associated with. And that's a big part of our vision to get there faster. And I think the third thing is also to develop the right kind of resources we need, based not only for our own campus, but the resources we need to expand our global footprint. And that will come not only from endowment, that will become from recognizing and expressing our greater value throughout the state to make sure that we have significant resources that we need, as well as the strength of our new partnerships that allow us to reach heights that we've never reached and to do things that a lot of folks will be surprised at doing. We're going to be a leader on these high technology areas. We're not following other people. We're going to be leading people. And so that is where we're going. We're going to be a leader, and we're going to have a global perspective, and we're going to grow exponentially, and we get there faster, and we're going to have more impact if we all are strongly aligned, just like Aggies always do. We're always doing, we're never done, and we're not going to start being done now.
Chancellor, thank you so much. And thank you to all of the panelists who gave very thoughtful answers tonight and really, I think, helped folks come to a new understanding about where we are at North Carolina A&T in this fall 2024 semester. We want to thank all of the alumni. More than 300 of you are still on the Zoom right now. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to learn more about what's happening at the university and how you can fit into A&T's ongoing development. Chancellor, I'll kick it back to you to take us out.
Okay, I just want to say again, it's good to see and connect with all of you folks. Connect with over 300 of you. At one point, we had about 450 Aggies. Never been a more important time for us to connect with our purpose. We talk about Aggie pride. Let's also connect with Aggie purpose. This is a critical time for our country. It's a critical time for this university. Thank all of you folks. Our best days are ahead, and Aggie pride.
Aggie pride.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you. It's the best place to be.
Yes.